Welcome into the garage area. We just finished watching the Cup Series race at Atlanta. In fact, we just finished watching the third closest finish in NASCAR history. I think on a scale of 1 to 10, you said this was going to be a 5?
Yeah.
I said it was going to be a 7. Where would you rate this race now after seeing
that was
that
a 10. Yeah.
That was a 10. I actually don't think that... I don't think as much of this race as you did. I didn't like it as well as you did, but for putting everything in the box of this is the newly configured Atlanta, this is the special package to make this race what it is, I'm not unhappy with it. I would say it definitely gets a 9, maybe a 9.5. It's just not quite a 10 for me, but it was very good. That has nothing to do with Joey Logano wrecking, just so we're aware. Yes, Daniel Suarez, he ends up winning the race, coming to the line 3 wide with Kyle Busch and Ryan Blaney. I was pulling really hard for the 12 car, and he was unable to get it by 3 1,000ths of a second. As I said, third closest finish in NASCAR history, behind the Jimmy Johnson Talladega win. I don't remember what year that was, and Ricky Craven, Kurt Busch at Darlington in 2003. So this is going to be a highlight reel for many years to come.
Yeah.
And we sat right here in the garage area and watched it. I'm pretty excited about the way that one played out. 10 total cautions in this race, a lot of wrecks. Not sure that I'm in love with that, but it did seem like a lot of the guys that got wrecked and made contact with other cars were able to continue on and run well. Chase Elliott, he was in a lot of wrecks, and he still... where did Chase finish?
15th.
That's not a great finish, but he was running better than that for the majority of the day. What about Denny Hamlin?
Have to check here.
Chase and Denny both were involved in 3 wrecks. They both tied for 3 wrecks that they were involved in.
That last one, I think, just about... Yeah, he fit... I scrolled past. But that last one, he had a lot of damage. 23rd.
23rd. Oh, yeah, that's right. That last one, he got the whole right front fender ripped off of that car. So
there just wasn't enough laps for anybody to pass him, I don't think so.
Yeah.
That was...
Yep. So it was very eventful. It was very yellow flag filled. But overall, I'd say it was a pretty good race. Where would you said you'd rank this one at a 10 overall then. So yeah.
As far as like super speedway style racing, I think this was way better than Daytona or Talladega has been putting on. So
see, I don't agree with you there. I do agree. Look, I wouldn't rather watch this race than a Daytona or Talladega race. But I do agree that this was some very good action versus expectations compared to what we've seen at Daytona or Talladega. I think that those 2 tracks are failing to meet their expectations to the level that Atlanta is.
Yeah.
But I don't know. The track's too narrow for me. I want to see 3 lanes make runs. And I know they were 4 wide at times today, and we didn't think that they were going to be able to make it through 1 and 2, but they somehow did. I don't know that I'm a big fan of this style of racing on this racetrack. You put something like this on Daytona or Talladega, and yeah, you're right. You got a 10 from me all day. Let's talk about some of the storylines coming into the weekend, or at least into the green flag of the race. The 34 and the 22, they're both on the front row for the second week in a row, but they've switched positions. McDowell gets the pole. Logano starts second. Or at least that's where he qualified. He didn't actually get to start the race in second position, and much was made about the webbed glove that Joey Logano was wearing in qualifying. Memes were blowing up all over the place. If you haven't seen it, Joey Logano was penalized for a safety violation for messing with the actual flame retardant glove that you're required to wear by NASCAR. There was a piece of material between the index finger and the thumb to create a web there so that as he went down the backstretch, he could hold his hand up against the window net and deflect 2 square inches of air out of the race car. Every little bit helps in NASCAR. We've seen this for years. I'm amazed that anybody even thought about that. And I'm curious to know if it would be a penalty if they hadn't fastened the material to the glove and if they had just taken a third glove and folded it over and pushed it up against the window net, if that would be a penalty.
Yeah, it'd be
I don't know what's that?
It'd be interesting to find out. Yeah, maybe other teams will think of something different.
I'm not sure what... Maybe I know that in welding there's a piece of... heat deflective material that you can slip over the glove that takes up the entire back of the hand, something like that, that would just have a piece of elastic strap over it that you could remove from the glove. I don't know if that's something you could look at in the future or not. Hey, Paul Wolf, give me a call. I got some ideas for you. But that seemed, did it seem to you like that was a pretty severe penalty for what that infraction was?
I mean, it's considered a safety issue because they didn't. I don't know if they really penalized him for the webbing itself, but they said the glove wasn't PF.
I think it was SFI certified.
Yeah, SFI certified. So I don't know if it was a whole different glove itself because he had yellow gloves on today, and that was a
gloves.
red gloves.
Yeah, red gloves on today.
Okay, but he wore a black glove.
Yeah.
To that. So the glove they used may not have been.
Yeah, I'm guessing that it was still met the specifications. It just had been altered from the factory, and that's the issue.
Yeah.
That's my understanding of the problem. Either way, the penalty for it was you had to start in the rear of the field and make a pass-through penalty down pit road under green. I don't know. I'm not for messing with safety equipment, safety to the driver. You've got to keep that box closed up. I fully understand that. That does seem like a pretty severe penalty for what actually took place. But I understand the penalty and why they're doing that. You can't have drivers messing with stuff. He did end up getting out of the jam that he was in, though, by having to take the pass-through penalty under green. As soon as he did, they wadded up half the field on lap 2, and he caught the caution and didn't end up going 2 laps down, basically, for having to come down pit road under green. So that was what appeared to be a positive start to the 22's day, but it didn't end up that way, and we'll get into that a little more later. The other car that had to go to the back of the pack for unapproved adjustments was Chase Elliott. They changed an engine sensor. I don't know exactly what that entails or why they had to change it, but he ended up having to start in the back. Would you say that was a detriment to his day? Where did he qualify?
He qualified 28th.
Okay, so really not that huge a difference.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he was running there when the accident happened, so it kind of, I think either way, he was probably going to end up in that accident.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, obviously having to start in the back allowed him to be involved in the accident, as you're alluding to, but he probably would have been involved either way.
Yeah.
As we said, big wreck on lap 2. Bowman immediately went to the garage because, he's a hack, and I said that last week. Christopher Bell ended up getting enough damage that he ended up in the garage as well. Not immediately, though, as it was pointed out to me earlier. And as we said, that caution was big for Joey Logano. McDowell wins the first stage, had a really fast race car, looked like he was going to be forced to be reckoned with for the win. And where did he finish this race? He did not win the race. No. He had to. Yeah. I know that he stayed out at one point toward the end to get some track position back, but he pretty much had lost it all by the end again.
He finished 8th.
Did he really?
Yeah, he got back in the top 10.
All right. He was about 18th last I saw where he was running. So that's pretty impressive that he ended up coming back to 8th. What about Austin Cindric, our Stage 2 winner? He had to have been towards the front still.
Yeah, he was 4th.
4th, okay. So he kind of a mixed bag for guys at the front today. We should talk about McDowell in the pit road issue. During a cycle of green flag pit stops in the middle of Stage 2, he locked up the brakes on the entrance to pit road on the backstretch.
Yeah.
The way that Atlanta makes you pit due to this hybrid style racetrack that they're developed here, they make you come in at the entrance of turn 3 to slow down to a 90-mile-an-hour pit road speed before you come to the actual start line of pit road at 45 miles an hour. And in that process, he locked the tires up and spun out, collecting William Byron in the process, who had a pretty decent day going. Where'd William finish, do you know?
I remember he got back on the lead lap there late.
He smacked the inside wall pretty good and caved the nose in.
He finished 17th.
17th. That's not terrible. I assume he was still on the lead lap if he finished 17th.
Yeah.
All right.
I saw he got the free pass at one point, so he was a lap down there for a little bit.
But that definitely ruined both of their runs. McDowell lost at least a lap during that process.
Yeah, he got the free pass like right as Joey.
And, during that caution.
Yeah.
So McDowell was able to salvage the day for what they had. It did seem like for as many cars as had damage, and there was probably 35 of them in this field that had damage of some kind, um, it seemed like you were able to still run pretty consistently toward the front,
Yeah.
even with the damage. As long as you weren't necessarily leading a line. I mean, we saw Chase Elliott come through the field and run in the top 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
Denny Hamlin was involved in a couple wrecks. Well, 3 total wrecks, and the last one finally did him in. And he ended up staying up towards the front after he'd made contact in the first 2. So it does seem like this particular style of draft allows for a little bit of body damage error. We did see the 22 lead a lot of the race. Once he made it to the front, he stayed out front for quite a bit. Coming to the end of stage 2, it was all 3 Penske cars. It was the 2, the 12, and the 22. And you saw Cindric make a move for the lead, and Logano passed him back. And then when he got passed again, he just kind of got shuffled out by his own teammates there. And as they went into 1 and 2, it seemed like he just wasn't able to hold the car on the bottom, and he came back up across the racetrack. As he was exiting turn 2, Chris Buescher had a big run on the outside. I don't know for sure what the issue was. My initial reaction was that Logano was out of the Highline draft and was going to try to slide in front of the 17, and then realized he couldn't make it in there. And it looked like Buescher was trying to give him some extra room. The 17 did bounce off the wall and eventually got into the 22, and they both ended up wrecking. Buescher was able to continue. Logano was not able to continue at a competitive speed, although I think he did finish the race. But regardless, you had, for the second straight week, one of the fastest cars in the field sat on the front row and ended up wrecked. So very disappointing for us Joey Logano fans. Where did he end up finishing? Had to have been
28th.
28th.
Yeah.
Not a good start to the season for Joe. As we said, the 9, he stayed up towards the front, especially with the damage that he had. He still ended up getting chastained in the end.
Yeah.
Not in the very end, but he did end up getting fairly late in the race turned by the 1. I don't really know what he was doing. He just went into 3 about as hard as you could possibly go and turned the 9 in the process.
Him and the 23 were fighting for the lucky dog. He wasn't even on the lead lap racing yet, so 23 was just ahead of him and ended up getting the lucky dog because of that. So.
That's got to be frustrating if you're Chase Elliott, and especially if you're a Chase Elliott fan, just to watch him hang up there for as long as he did and to get wrecked by somebody that's not even on the lead lap is disgusting, I guess I'd have to say.
He's gotten chastained a couple of times, so...
Hey, everybody has.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a couple Chastain tallies on their back bumper, that's for sure. The other guy that we thought would be pretty dominant coming into the day, or at least have a strong run, was Brad Keselowski, and he certainly did. He ran up front a lot. Didn't really hold the lead a whole lot, I don't think, but he did stay in the top couple rows fairly often, and just all by himself. Nobody got near him. Nobody touched him. He just, was this off a 2? Center of 1 and 2? In the middle of the corner somewhere. Yeah. He ended up getting loose and turned around, and he collected Kyle Larson and Corey LaJoie in the process. Corey LaJoie was my pick to win. That obviously didn't happen. In the 5 of Kyle Larson, Mike Joy said on the broadcast that in every race since they've reconfigured Atlanta to the super speedway style racing, the 5 car has not finished the event.
No.
He
was caught up in a wreck of some kind. I don't know about, not finished.
Yeah, that's disappointing for him for sure. So there was a whole lot of action throughout this race. They ended up red flagging the event with 11 to go, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly what the lap count was. And got the damaged cars cleaned up. When they went back to green for the final time, there was 5 laps remaining. I asked you before they dropped the green flag, are they going to wreck again? And you said, absolutely. It might be on the white flag lap, but they're going to wreck. And somehow they didn't. And they ended up coming to the line 3 wide. A ton of anticipation as they came off turn 4, waiting to see who was going to win. And it ended up being Daniel Suarez, just barely, over Ryan Blaney and Kyle Busch. 3rd closest finish in NASCAR history. Very impressive race to watch. Like I said several times already, this thing exceeded my expectations by a lot. Do you have anything more that you want to talk about from the Cup race?
Uh, nope.
That I think that pretty much captures what we saw today. You're going to have a lot of frustrated drivers leaving this, guys that are ready to be done with super speedway racing. Parker Kligerman on the pre-race mentioned something about this being the first time that we've started the season with back-to-back super speedway style racetracks since 1998. I went back and looked at the 1998 schedule, and Rockingham was the second track on the list. So I'm not sure where that. Either I misheard Parker or he didn't give me the right stat, one or the other.
I don't
But
know.
I didn't think this had ever happened before, where we came in and had this same style of racing 2 weeks in a row.
Other than what would the clash would have been. That'd be the
Yeah.
only thing. So
Yeah,
I don't know what that
but
happened most every year up
Yeah.
until the last couple of years. So,
so yeah, I don't know that. I'm not sure what the correct year was or what that stat was supposed to be, but it wasn't 1998. But here's the other thing that I was curious about. Normally, this is Fontana's slot on the schedule, second race of the year.
yeah,
Did you miss it? Did you even think about it?
I didn't know.
I saw Jeff Gluck, who's super sentimental about that racetrack for some reason, crying those tears that we weren't going to California this week. Look, I feel like every racetrack in NASCAR goes through this ebb and flow of they build the racetrack, the racing's good, and then it kind of falls off, and then it comes back, and then it goes away again. And it just everything kind of, like I just said, ebbs and flows into what is good racing at a racetrack and what is not. Because I think of Atlanta, I think of Earnhardt and Labonte coming to the line side by side. I think of Gordon and Harvick
Yeah,
with Harvick's first win. I think of Edwards and Johnson. And then I really don't think of any race for quite a while that was real close like that. And now you've come to the third closest finish in NASCAR history. So I'm hopeful that this is going to be the case, that Atlanta pulls us back into some good racing. You mentioned it earlier, it's a playoff race again, and that's going to be interesting to see how this particular style of racing fits into the NASCAR playoffs. Trivia question for you.
okay.
Atlanta used to host the final race of the season. The first year was 1987. What was the last year Atlanta hosted the season finale race?
Man, I'm trying to think. I remember Gordon winning championships before Atlanta. I know he won a championship in '98. So I want to say it's somewhere between late '90s, early 2000s. Because it must have went to Homestead after that.
It went to Homestead after that.
I'll go '98. I don't know.
It was actually 2001.
Oh,
Was the last year that it was scheduled to be the final race of the season. But because of the 9/11 situation, they moved New Hampshire to the final race of the season, because that would have been that weekend that they would have been at New Hampshire. So they moved it to the end of the year. But technically, that was the season that it was supposed to host the final race. That's how the schedule worked out, but they didn't end up getting there. So I guess if you wanted to be technical, the last one was the season finale was at 2000, was the year 2000.
Yeah.
Okay, you have a trivia question for me.
I guess. Who has the most wins at Atlanta?
Ooh. Boy, I feel like for a stretch there, we went to every racetrack that was a good action-packed mile and a half, and it was Carl Edwards trying to catch Jimmy Johnson's win total. So I'm going to say Jimmy Johnson.
I was actually Dale Earnhardt.
How?
He had 9 wins.
9 wins.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that was surprising.
That's boy. I wonder what his last one would have been. Had to have been sometime in the mid '90s. I think.
I'm not sure. I didn't look at it.
That's impressive. 9 wins is a lot for a racetrack. That's Jimmy's got to be second on the list.
Yeah, I'm not. I didn't look at it.
All right.
I'm not very good at this.
Either way, that's impressive. That 9 wins at a racetrack. That's Kevin Harvick numbers there. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the Xfinity race. Did you watch the Xfinity race?
Yeah.
What did you think of the Xfinity race?
Single file line racing, pretty much. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
I didn't see anything that really compelled me for very much of the race. the very end of it, I'd say about halfway through stage 3, it was starting to get exciting, and only because there was a question of whether or not they were going to make it on fuel.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys didn't make it on fuel.
Only really one did, and that was the
Austin Hill.
Austin Hill.
Yep.
So they showed the last pit stop, and like the rest of the top 15 or something pitted with 5 to go or something like that. So when the initial caution came out, and because that final restart, I don't know how many guys just didn't get going. It was like
there was guys that were slow on the racetrack before they made it to the green flag for the final restart. Yeah. Austin Hill wins the race in pretty dramatic fashion. He goes back-to-back in the first 2 races of the season. He's won 3 of the last 4 races at Atlanta. And he's the first driver to sweep the first 2 races of the Xfinity Series season since Tony Stewart in 2008. His teammate gave him some competition, though, for most of the day. Jesse Love absolutely dominated the race. Won stage 1 and 2, I believe. Yeah. And started from the pole. You pointed out earlier that Jesse Love is the first Xfinity Series driver to win his first 2 poles. That's impressive for the length of history that this sport has. He looks like he's going to be somebody that is fast this year in that 2 car.
Well, that program and the whole drafting tracks like Daytona, Talladega are fast as it is. Period.
That's true.
So, I mean, I'd wait to see how they get to the 1.5 miles and stuff like that with the regular package.
Yeah, you're right. You got to be able to prove it more than just in these restrictor plate style racetracks for sure. We talked about the cars running out of fuel. The first one that officially ran out of fuel was Ryan Sieg, and he's the one that brought out the caution.
Yeah.
They were 3 laps from Jesse Love winning the race, and Ryan Sieg brought out the caution for being slow on the inside of the racetrack. And then from there, all of the Fords ran out of fuel. And I don't know what's up with that, if it's just a fuel mileage calculation situation, if those Roush H motors are just using more fuel than they think, or I don't know what the deal is, but they already, like, it was Ryan Sieg, it was the 98 of Riley Herbst for the second straight week, gets his heart broke. He was running up front and going to contend for the win. Yeah. Cole Custer ran out of fuel on the front stretch. Haley Deegan ran out of fuel. Cole Custer, I actually thought he got shoved out of line when I first saw him because I saw the car wiggling back and forth on the front stretch and cars were just narrowly missing him. Yeah. And then I realized that he's just trying to get fuel to the pickup at that point. So this is the thing that kind of bothered me a little bit, though, is it felt like, I mean, there's cars that just ran out of fuel. Like, it's not like there was a wreck.
Yeah.
It's not like there was debris to clean up. It's not like there was cars that had to be towed away. Yeah, safety cars had to come push them.
Yeah.
But nothing too dramatic. And it felt like we ran caution lap after caution lap after caution. And I think that's the type of thing. I think they said they added 6 laps.
Yeah, I don't know if it was because cars just, every time they get a car off, another one would
that could be
run out or two. And then, because I know that even coming to the green flag, cars were peeling off onto the pit road because they were running out coming to the...
Yeah, Allgaier ran out coming to the green, right?
They weren't sure he was going to make it back to pit road.
And he must have because they didn't throw a yellow flag.
I guess that doesn't really mean anything anymore. Maybe
I guess it's fair. I don't know. I feel there's kind of a double-edged sword here because I think that 6 laps of caution is too much to add in that situation.
Yeah.
But at the same point, if you red flag it, they might not get fired back up either.
Yeah.
So it's a tough situation that NASCAR's put in there. It's just a shame that it really came down to a fuel mileage race. It would have been nice to see them actually race. Yeah. And then we would have had a caution for wrecks and debris, I guarantee it. Yeah. But Austin Hill ends up getting that win. I thought the 9 had it in the bag. He restarted second car in the inside lane, I do believe. And when they dropped the green, the 48 did not go.
Yeah.
And just it killed all the 9's momentum, and he wasn't able to get up through there because he had come down pit road for fuel.
Yeah.
And I thought that was his race to win because...
I thought something happened to him coming to the checkered or something. I thought he ran out of fuel, but maybe something else happened.
I'm not sure. I didn't see that. I just saw in the restart that the 48 didn't have any momentum and the 9 was trying to shake him to get around him.
He was coming all his way. I vividly remember a yellow car getting up near the wall or like took off near the wall. So maybe he just got loose or tight or something.
It's hard to say. Either way, Dale Jr. talked this week on his podcast about how he was pretty disappointed in Daytona with the performance of the JRM cars.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to be much happier this week. Did you have anything else about the Xfinity Series race?
No.
What about the truck race? I have one note on my sheet from the truck race, and that was boring. Kyle Busch wins.
Yeah.
Well, did you have anything more than that to really talk
The
about?
only thing that was really interesting was was it one of the NASCARs, their windshield bowed in
Yeah,
after the race?
was it the windshield?
Windshield, yeah. Well,
Okay, we had another truck where the roof blew off.
That was the same truck.
It was the same truck. Okay,
Yeah, evidently, supposedly, debris hit the windshield. Whether that's true or not, because they knew how teams try to mess with them braces to get aero. But it was funny looking at Twitter, and everybody on Twitter was taking pictures of their TVs, and they could see the windshield bowed in going down the straightaways and stuff. That being bowed in eventually is what lifted the roof off. So I was curious that they had to park it after that.
Did they?
Yeah, so they couldn't just flop a piece of roof back on and go. So
that is interesting.
It's interesting how the rules work.
Yeah,
because it doesn't seem like something that'd be that hard to fix. And
I feel like I follow this sport closer than any other sport I follow, and I feel like I get surprised by more rules in this sport than any other sport that I will follow. That is interesting that you couldn't just slap a new roof panel on there or something.
Yeah.
But let's talk about our picks that we made for this week. You picked Joey Logano to win the race. I picked Corey LaJoie. They both got wrecked.
Yeah.
And we said Logano finished 28th. Where did Corey LaJoie finish?
13th.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
So I'm still going to be up now 2 points, correct? Yeah. In our standings. So that's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. Do you have anything more to say about the truck race?
That's all I got.
Anything more to say about Atlanta weekend?
No.
That's all I got. As a whole, I would say that the truck race met my expectations. The Xfinity Series race, I don't know what to say about that because it was so unique as to what it was.
Yeah.
And the Cup race exceeded my expectations. I thought that it was a great race. Really happy for Suarez. I don't think we really talked about that enough.
Yeah.
That I asked you if Suarez was off the hot seat with that win, and you didn't think so because of the fact of the style of racetrack that we were at.
Yeah.
If he puts together a decent season and makes the play, I mean, he's going to make the playoffs because he won a race, but stays relevant in points. Do you think that kind of eases the pressure on him?
I think so. I mean, I would need to see a lot more top fives than what he had last year. I think he only had maybe one or two.
I think he just needs to run comparable to the one to be off the hot seat. Like if the one's getting 12th and 11th place finishes, if he finishes in the top 15, I think that's going to be okay for where their program's at. Also, Justin Marks, marketing genius. The first guy out there on the front stretch giving Suarez a hug, saying, "How about this guy?" Pointing at the Trackhouse hat. He knows how to market himself, and it's pretty impressive what he's built over there at Trackhouse. I think that's going to do it for us from inside the garage area. I appreciate you guys watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at the garage area, and we'll see you right back here next time.